My son was caught in a vicious, bitter custody case that lasted over 16 years. He had 7 name change. And he was adopted twice by the new spouse of the mother. The first time I was not even informed. And I started to do a lot of research about children and their rights. And the more I read, the more I saw there was a problem. But not only did I realize, the more I read, there were problems with children's rights. I realized thousands of kids were living that problem, separation and divorce, and thousands of kids were stuck in a tug of war. 2 parents fighting to try to become the owner of that child. After seeing the legality problems in this country, and after seeing how much agony children were going through, and seeing the suffering of people, we came to a conclusion that basically the only winners of all of this were lawyers, attorneys.
So 2 years ago, in the midst of his own custody battle, Ricaardoe Di Done founded the Organization for the Protection of Children's Rights in Canada, a non-profit organization.
So I decided to create the organization and create a scientific committee. Why a scientific committee? Because I had realized that every discipline would talk for their parish. Lawyers talk about the law, psychologists talk about psychology.
I joined OPCR in Mumbai. We set up the office in Mumbai and about in 2006. And I think in all these years of work, what has really inspired us and motivated us is the people that are at the core of OPCR. And whenever I come back here, I feel like it's a family, and it's a wonderful organization. Thank you.
I am delighted to welcome you in Montreal for the Organization for the Protection of Children's Rights 7th International Conference on Sustainable Best Practice in Program for Children and Youth.
I work on a program called Directors of Change. Over 60% of funding for our projects overseas come from youth, so the will is really there.
We believe strongly in multi-sector engagement and in developing partner networks. So each country that we begin work in, one of the first steps that we do is bring together youth-serving organizations and governmental sectors that are working in youth services.
Families and children coming from Rwanda, from Sudan, from Somalia, where normally there are some conflicts. The program is holistic. Without the alternative income, the kids going to work and they're not going to be able to go to school. Without clean water projects, women not going to go to school.
La rete Progetto Pace
Rete Progetto Pace Peace Project Network
è una rete internazionale.
Is an international network.
The 25th anniversary of this organization, which is the event we're celebrating tonight. Remember, Ricaardoe is a very determined man. Most of you might have experienced that by now. Herb later became a member of the Honor Committee and got involved in the 4th International Congress when we were looking at the whole issue of children violence. The organization and its committees organized important international congresses, drafted briefs on subject matters related to children, and put a number of recommendations forward to help advance the welfare of children. Please keep up the good work. The Honorable Herbert Marks, Justice Superior Court of Quebec, retired, former Minister of Justice of Quebec. We thank you very much, Herbert.
We usually see a lot of, in the news, especially in Quebec in the recent times, crimes that are committed by young people. And our first instinctive reaction is to say, well, why did they do that? They should be punished. We should increase the penalties on younger criminals. Ricaardoe made me realize one thing, is that if the children have reached that point, it's the parents' responsibility most of the time.
Then organizing international conferences, preparing brief, creating research projects, such as the one we did at the Youth Tribunal or La Chambre de la Famille. But over the years, we decided it was nice and dandy to do research, presenting brief, and try to advance, make the society advance, so that we could better support our children and parents in distress. We decided to create a beautiful party for underprivileged kids. Good things. It's to give them hope in life, to show them that there is light at the end of the tunnel.
For at least one day, the kids get a chance to forget their often difficult lives by dancing, singing, playing games, engaging in crafts, and enjoying a good meal.
And I remember one time a journalist told me, don't you think that's bad for the kids what you're doing? You know, they come from homes that have nothing, and now you're bringing them in fancy hotels, all the decoration, the animation, and then they're going back home in the way they were living before. And before I could even answer back, there was a school director next to me that answered back. Look, usually these kids are kids that have no hope. They don't want to be a policeman or a fireman or whatever. They have no hope. And usually these kids in the schoolyard, within 5 minutes, they're already fighting verbally between each other. And they've been here for hours, and look how they're smiling.
Over the years, the organization has brightened the lives of more than 9,000 Quebec youngsters whose smiles ensure a lot more events like this one to come.
There's a new organization that got created because of the OPCR where we give direct services for people that are in distress. You can call us, we'll tell you what you can do with the law so you don't have to spend money. We'll try to push people towards mediation or trying to reopen the dialogue between each other. How to do that, where to look for help if needed to. My dad used to take me fishing when I was a small little kid. He would go trout fishing in a little creek, but he would carry me on his back all along. I mean, I must have been a real burden, and yet he would bring me all over the place. My grandpa, that was a chef cook, also a musician, after church, every Sunday at that time, he would get his accordion out and we would sing and dance. Dear sir, needless to tell you how filled with joy my heart is today when I saw the program and content for the 7th International Conference, Sustainable Best Practice in Children and Youth Program, organized by the Organization for the Protection of Children's Rights. So many programs that will make the difference for our children. But by the same token, my heart is so sad. It's hard to imagine that while we had the most prosperous economy ever, our financial poverty increased. I know that you will do the utmost so that children of the future will have what it takes to succeed and flourish. Let us fill the new generation with self-esteem, and we shall all live in a great world. Mr. Di Done, I am really sad that I couldn't be with you for this very special event, the 26th anniversary of the OPCR, because I'm presently in Afghanistan. From a child that had 7 name change, was adopted twice, as a new spouse of my mother, but because of an individual great perseverance and determination, both adoptions were set aside, allowing myself to maintain my true identity. Dad, thank you so much for doing everything possible legally to ensure that I could retain my natural dad, grandparents, and my true identity. Thank you for not abandoning me, and thank you for always being there for me. Dad, I love you so much. Yes, just like in the old days, all the way around. As you always said, the sky's not the limit, but just the beginning. I wish you all the best to you and your team. Love always your son, Ricaardoe Jr. So that's what kids need, the love of a mom, a dad, aunt, uncle, grandparents. Let us give them love. Let us be involved with them, and you'll see that most kids will tick. Yes, you may have some of them that maybe they have psychological problem or whatever, but in general, kids will be successful and will become a jewel of society.
Happy birthday party, let us sing a song to my friend Ricardo, been waiting on so long. Happy birthday party, we're all back here as one. Sit back and relax, get ready to join the fun. Way back in 83, Ricardo took the lead with humble beginnings. Each promise he did keep. Ricardo 26 debate. OPCR, you have shown the way. OPCR, you 26 debate. OPCR, you have shown the way.